The transition to generative and generative with agentic-based deployments is going to follow the same sort of pattern. We just don't have the skills. We just don't have the money. And also in many cases, we don't have the use cases. So I'm seeing people when they're calling me in to look at their use case for, generative or agentic AI. In many cases, it's not needed. They're over-engineering, they're overbuilding something. Certainly with agentic, because you got to remember, it's going to be 10 times the cost to operate those things. You're dealing with a multi-agent system, dealing with distributed operations. You're dealing with, huge cloud bills. You're dealing with, inference at scale and distributed inference. All those kinds of things are not free, versus building a traditional monolithic system, which in many cases is going to be good enough for who it's for and solve the particular problem and solve it at 1/10 of the cost. So if you're willing to spend 10 times the money, then you can certainly use agentic AI and you can push it into any problem domain. If you have enough money and time, you can make it work. That's an easy thing to say, but there has to be business value that comes back from the business. You got to remember, the businesses out there don't have a huge pile of money, just start throwing at AI. So they can get into it baby steps, incrementally, finding the right use cases, building, small tactical solutions, which I think is the way most of AI is going to be consumed within these Global 2000 companies. And that's just going to be the way it is. So we're not going to have this big inflection point that, the tech providers and the consulting firms are waiting for right now. Because it just can't happen. It's going to violate the laws of nature, so to speak, and how enterprises consume technology. I know people hate to see that, but the primary question I get from organizations out there that are either selling this technology or trying to sell consulting services is they expected this to be much higher and much more inflected than it is right now. And I think that's probably true.